Hello, everyone. This is Dan Gramza, and welcome to DanGramza.com Market Studies for Monday, April 13th. Well, this market, as well as the other indices, are going into an environment this weekend that it's apprehension. It's not really sure what to expect. We have these negotiations going on with Iran and the United States. Is anything going to come out of this, or is it going to be more of the same back and forth as we start next week out? So we see a market reaction here that really doesn't favor a move to the upside. So if you're on the long side, be careful in this environment. The bias, by the way, is for a move to the upside longer term. The sell level here is at 26.26. Now, if you haven't seen these videos, these are daily charts and candle charts, and it's what I call behavioral Japanese candle charts. We're looking at the behavior that creates these references as opposed to just looking at patterns. Now, what about those currencies? And what we can see here, the red line sell level, green line buy level, dollar difference. When you see here the dash lines, that means it's something that happened earlier in the week. But here, what we're focused on is this market also stronger, not a super strong close, but buyers came back in, US dollar weaker. We didn't see that with the Swissy. Let's get that up here. The Swissy was struggling as we're making new highs. So be apprehensive about that move. If you're on the long side, this could easily tip over. When we're looking at what's happening with Mr. Yen in that market, a bit weaker, has got a bullish bias, but be careful here if you're on the long side of that market. It's got a lot of selling coming in on the rallies. And so far, buyers just haven't shown up. Aussie dollar did give us a little bit of a rally. This is what I call a false sense of security. It could easily tip over in that market. British pound in the same boat. Momentum still carrying it higher, but this is not a strong close. Again, be careful if you're on the long side with that market. Canadian dollar. Let's take a look at that one. It also slowed down going into the weekend. It's very neutral in terms of structure. Both buyers and sellers are present. This could easily rally or break with that type of movement. And again, we have that news that's holding this market hostage in a sense. Bitcoin continued to the upside. This is nice and clean going into the weekend, but boy, Monday is going to be important for this market. If buyers are here, they need to show up on Monday. Note, yields went higher and we see price cooled off in that market. Nothing unusual there in terms of that behavior. So I do look for further movement to the downside. That's what it implies with sellers coming in. But again, the current geopolitical environment, anything can happen in these markets. And in bonds, you've seen yields increasing, price decreasing. And if you're on the short side, be careful there. That could easily turn around. In the gold market, that should be taking off, but we're just not seeing this. Look at Friday's action in that market. Let me stretch it out a little bit. There we go. Very neutral. So there's not a strong commitment to upside or downside in this market. It's truly 50-50. Silver has a little more bias to the upside, but nothing very strong, and this could also easily tip over. When we look at copper, though, there we see a stronger commitment in that market. I'm really surprised to see us at these levels. I do not look for a big move on Monday. Crude oil breaks to the downside, sideways move. This is a market waiting for information, and it could continue to the downside if indeed we get something productive coming out of Pakistan in terms of those meetings. Nat gas, we continue lower here, but it is slowing down. Be careful on the short side. This is getting cheap, and we may just get low enough to find those buyers. Beans, nice close on Friday going into the weekend. Soybean meal, Italy is buying a lot of our soybean meal. It's reflected here in soybeans when we look at what's happening with soybeans. With corn, there we go. With corn, we're seeing continued weakness. A lot of issues about getting out and planting. This is the time of year in the United States or in the Midwest where I am, uh, planting becomes important, and people are anxious to get out there. Too much rain, that's not a good sign. The root systems do not go deep, especially for corn, but you have a time window that you need to plant within. So it's a very interesting time of year. Cheap, nothing telling us to be a buyer, but be careful there with that market. Same thing holds true with wheat. We may be getting some bias, some buying coming into that market. The plains need some rain and they may be getting it. So keep your eye on Mr. Wheat. If you're on the short side, be careful here. Well, those are my thoughts for today. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to being with you again. And as always, take care.